The clock struck midnight, but instead of ticking forward, its hands twitched and began to move backward. To most, a clock running in reverse would be a broken mechanism, a quirk of gears. But for Jonathan Hale, it was a warning, a pulse of dread that something was unraveling. Jonathan had inherited the old grandfather clock after his uncle's passing, a relic that had always stood in the dark corner of his uncle's library. His uncle had whispered on his deathbed, "Guard it. Never let it reach 12. That was all. No explanation, no comfort. Now, standing alone in his house, Jonathan watched as the ancient hands reversed, minute by minute, second by second, pulling time itself apart. The first mystery came swiftly. As the hands slipped back past 11, Jonathan heard footsteps upstairs. But he lived alone. Heart pounding, he climbed the creaking staircase and found his late uncle's study door ajar. Inside, dust lay thick, but the chair behind the desk rocked as if someone had just risen from it. On the desk was a journal, his uncle's handwriting looping in urgency. The last entry read, "The clock does not keep time, it steals it." If this mystery already has your heart racing, make sure you subscribe right now and press the bell icon, because stories like this one only grow darker as they unfold. Compelled, Jonathan turned back toward the stairs, only to hear the sound of a child's laughter echoing through the hall. His blood ran cold. He had no children. Yet when he reached the bottom, a small toy horse sat in the middle of the floor. He recognized it, his own childhood toy, one he'd lost decades ago. How could it be here? The clock continued running backward, each chime deepening the impossible. That was the second hook. Time itself was bleeding into his present. Memories weren't just haunting him, they were manifesting. As the clock struck 10, the air shimmered, and Jonathan saw his late mother standing at the kitchen doorway, alive as she had been 30 years ago. Her face was younger, untouched by the illness that had taken her. She didn't seem to see him, only muttered softly, "You shouldn't be here." Then, like smoke in a gust, she vanished. Shaken, Jonathan knew he should flee, call someone, do something. But curiosity gripped him tighter than fear. If the clock was undoing time, what would it reveal if it reached his beginning? Could he see his father again? Could he undo all his regrets? He felt pride stir in his chest, courage to face whatever truth the clock held, to confront the legacy his uncle had died protecting. The third hook fell like a hammer. At 9 o'clock, the lights flickered, and Jonathan found himself staring not at his home, but at a battlefield. Mud, smoke, soldiers shouting in voices he did not recognize. A shell exploded near him, and when he shielded his eyes, the scene dissolved. His breath came ragged. This wasn't his memory. The clock wasn't just drawing his past, it was unraveling all of time. If it reached 12 backward, the world itself might unmake. If you want to uncover how deep this mystery goes, pause for a moment and hit that subscribe button. That way, you'll never miss the twists hidden inside tales like this. By the time the hands reached 8, Jonathan's house had become a shifting landscape of past eras. Victorian corridors bleeding into medieval chambers, shadows of people who no longer lived drifting through like ghosts. His uncle's words burned in his mind. "Guard it. Never let it reach 12. The climax surged as the clock's pendulum began to swing faster, a thunderous heartbeat of the universe collapsing in reverse. Jonathan knew he had to act. He tried stopping the pendulum, but his hands passed through it as though it wasn't fully real. He covered his ears against the deafening chimes as the hands slipped towards 7. The floor beneath him cracked open, revealing endless darkness filled with whispers, like every secret ever lost in time. Courage surged again. He refused to let everything unravel. And then came the twist. Jonathan turned to the journal, flipping back through pages. At the very front, one note stood out, written years before his uncle's death. The clock chooses a guardian. When it runs backward, it is not breaking time. It is testing the keeper. Only by surrendering your own life can the cycle be reset. He froze. That was the truth. His uncle hadn't died naturally. He had passed the burden on. The clock wasn't stealing Jonathan's time by accident. It was demanding it. His choice was clear: sacrifice himself to halt the backward pull, or let the world unravel into nothing. With pride and trembling hands, Jonathan placed the journal atop the clock and whispered, "I accept." At once the pendulum stilled, the ticking ceased, and the hands froze at 6. The house fell silent. Jonathan exhaled, and then, like a candle snuffed out, he was gone. The clock began to tick forward again, as though nothing had ever happened. But in the library, the clock's face reflected not Jonathan's absence, but his figure trapped inside, staring out with silent eyes. The Guardian had changed. If you felt the chill of this tale, don't let time slip away. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon, because more stories with shadows, secrets, and twists await. And as for the clock that ran backward, listen carefully in the stillness of midnight. If you hear it ticking in reverse, it may already be testing you.